Welcome to Small Biz, Big Wins, where every episode is a new journey into the heart of entrepreneurship. I'm your host, Summer Poquette, here to navigate the thrilling world of small business with you. Each week, we dive into the inspiring stories and joyful triumphs of real business owners. Get ready to be empowered with actionable advice and, most importantly, celebrate the spirit of small business. Let's dive into how every small victory shapes your big success. This is Small Biz, Big Wins. Let's make it happen. Welcome back, friends, to another episode of Small Biz, Big Wins. I'm your host, Summer Poquette, and today we are discussing Facebook and Instagram ads. All small businesses that post on social media want to reach as many people as possible, or why post at all, right? There are two ways for people to see the content that you're posting. It's through organic reach or paid reach. Organic is essentially posting quality content that is relevant for your ideal customer. It's very visual, and you basically want your audience to engage with what you're posting. The more people that engage with your content, that means they're liking it, they're commenting, they're sharing, the more people you're going to reach organically. That's organic. You don't pay Facebook or Instagram a penny. Then there's paid advertising, where you pay Meta to show your content to as many people as possible. In 2008, when I first started social media consulting, I posted for my clients and I reached far more followers than today. But over the years, as the platform grew, that has dwindled, of course. Meta was formed and now they own Facebook and Instagram, and it's definitely more pay to play. Organic content, don't get me wrong, it is still valuable, it is essential, but paid advertising is the way to go if you want to increase your reach. Today, there are more people on the platforms than ever. There are more businesses, there's more noise. Neil Patel wrote a great LinkedIn article recently on how the reach has declined in the last 3 years. It actually has decreased overall on all the platforms from 39.57% to 12.74%. With 3 billion people on Facebook alone, there's a lot of competition for a small business to have their content be seen. On average, it's safe to say that the average Facebook post reaches organically 1 to 4% of your followers. And the larger your audience, the more likely your reach will be. So maybe it'll be 4% or higher. If you have a small business page with maybe 1,500 people liking your page, and you create a post and you share it and people comment, then your percentage is going to increase. There are many tactics to improve organic reach, but if you're ready to increase your sales, to grow your leads, to grow your email list, to target the right audience and build brand awareness, it might be worth investing in Facebook and Instagram ads. So, to help us all better understand paid advertising on Meta, I've invited Karen Nelson with Karen Nelson Digital to the show today. She's a certified elite ad manager. She has been in Newsweek and has been on multiple podcasts and hosts ad workshops, manages ads for clients, and basically, in my opinion, is a digital ad guru. So welcome, Karen, to Small Biz, Big Wins.
Thank you, Summer. It is so good to be here, and I love talking about ads. So I think we're going to have a lot of fun for the next little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. And so before I jump into my long list of questions, tell the audience a little bit about your business and how you got started, because we met back in 2018 when you were just starting the business, right?
Yeah, that was my first kind of foray into the business was right in 2018. Before my very first career was as a teacher, and I taught elementary school and I loved it. And then I left the classroom to go work for a marketing agency that specialized in advertising to teachers. And it was great. I was creating content for teachers. And then part of my job was, after I created the content, I needed to use Facebook ads to get more of the teachers to see it. And after a while, I realized that the getting the Facebook ads to get to see the teachers to see the content was 10 times more fun than actually writing the content. And so after a few years of learning how to leverage the Facebook ads platform, I went out on my own, launched my business, and have basically been running ads for clients since 2018 and have just immersed myself in the world of social media ads.
That is awesome. That's so funny. We have such a similar background. I started teaching and then kind of started, had a job that was very focused on marketing in relation to education and really liked the marketing piece and kind of left the chalkboard behind, and the rest is history. And so it's funny. I really, we run, Keep It Real Social runs Facebook ads for our current clientele, but, it is a specialty, and I love how you've kind of really niched down and honed into helping people specifically, use paid advertising on a platform that really is complicated to some degree in running the ads. So let's jump right into, I know a lot of small businesses, they want to run the ads themselves. They might have an agency like myself, or they might be looking for your type of agency that just specifically runs ads. But what are the key differences for anyone listening between a boosted post and a regular Facebook and Instagram ad? And how does a small business really decide which one they should use? Because it's easy to just hit boost.
It totally is. And in all honesty, there's nothing inherently wrong with a boosted post. They are generally easier to execute, but they are also likely not quite as effective when it comes to getting your content seen on social media. And so in the end, they can be more expensive because they're not quite as effective.
Mhm.
And an actual ad that you build on the back end of Facebook, besides boosting a post, is generally more effective because you have more tools at your fingertips to create the ad. But at the same time, the ad platform is so complicated and so complex to learn that when it comes to looking at your ROI in terms of both time and ad dollars, sometimes the ROI is better when you can just kind of use the easy button and boost a post,
For
which is
sure.
fine if you're not spending a lot of money. If
Yeah.
you're spending, I like to say more than like $200 for a campaign or like in a month window,
Mhm.
you might want to consider using actual ads manager to get your content live, because then you do have more tools at your fingertips. That $200 will go further.
Mhm.
But um, but if you don't have want to spend the time learning the platform that's complicated, boosting a post can be the best solution for a lot of small
Sure.
businesses.
Well, and if you've created, let's say, a really good Facebook or Instagram post, it's got great content, it's, catching, your graphics really good, it could be easy to hit that boost button. But when you go into the ad manager, correct me if I'm wrong, but you have the tools that you're speaking of allows you to add music and create different images like the reels and the stories, and it just you have all of these variety of things that you can
Mhm.
create versus just your static post that you've
Yeah.
created. It really has more legs if you are using the ad manager, so to speak.
Lots more creative legs,
Hmm.
lots more targeting, not as much as we used to have in the past, but with Ads Manager, we do have the capacity to target. And the other thing that we have in Ads Manager is the capacity to ask for a specific type of result,
Mm,
in a little more narrow way than with a boosted post. In Ads Manager, we can tell Facebook, hey, I only want people who are interested in buying. Don't get me the people who are just going to click. I want buyers. Or
okay.
I only want the people who are actually going to sign up for my thing. I don't want just people who are going to like and comment. And so with Ads Manager, it gives us the power to really go after the result that we want.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. But like you said, ad manager is complicated and it does have a learning curve to it. So if you are somebody who wants to spend that time learning ad manager, and take it to the next level, then it might be worth it. But before you even go to that next step, right? And you're thinking, I want to start running paid ads because my organic posts are great. They're reaching the 1 to 4% or more because I'm getting a lot of engagement, but I need to kick it up a notch. Maybe you have a special that you're running, or you're launching a new product, or you need more people to look at what you're doing, more brand awareness. What would be a realistic budget for someone starting out with Facebook and Instagram advertising? And I know that this is like a kind of a loaded question because it could run the gamut.
It can vary a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And the main thing that when I'm talking about budget with my clients that I ask them about is really, what is your goal? What is your hope? And how much you spend is based on how much result you want. And are you asking for clicks? Are you asking for signups for your email list? Are you asking for people to buy? Those different types of campaigns are more or less expensive, and sometimes to earn sales, you need more or less action takers.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes if you're selling a digital course, you maybe need 40,000 people to sign up and watch it in order to make your money back and get buyers. But if you are a local business owner, you're having a sale at your shop and you just need 50 to 100 people to walk into your shop over the weekend, you could spend a lot less. And so it's the hardest question. I won't say the hardest, but one of the hardest questions I have to answer as an ads manager is, how much should I spend? And it
Mm-hmm.
just really depends a lot on what you want out of the ad and what your objectives are.
For sure. I love how you specify what your objectives are, because a lot of people will say, I have $100 to spend. And if
Mhm.
you're looking for page likes, more people to just like your page, that budget could go a really long ways for $100, especially in a,
Yeah.
certain area or region. And then if you're looking for leads, and the lead campaigns, which you can only run in the ad manager. So a lead campaign is not something you can do with a boosted post. You could spend $25 to $35 a lead. And so the $100 might be spent in 3 days or
Exactly.
a day.
And yeah. And it feels expensive, but if, say, you are a someone who sells a product that's like $200 to $300 in value, maybe you're okay spending $25 for one customer. Or if you're someone who sells like a roofing product that's, I didn't even know how much roofs cost these days, but a lot, you're willing to pay a whole lot more, maybe even $100 or $200 for a single customer.
Yeah.
And so the budget can just vary a lot.
Yeah,
And some people
absolutely.
are really just wanting basically a billboard, because a social
Mhm.
media ad can be a very effective billboard and it's far cheaper than a physical billboard in your town. And
Yes.
so that can be a great strategy for some people too.
Yeah, really it comes down to what is your objective. And one of the reasons that we really like working with Facebook ads for some of our clients is just what you said. It is a lot cheaper than putting up a billboard on a highway. Our
Mhm.
billboards here in northern Michigan range anywhere, depending on the location, between $600 to $1,500, depending on the spot. For that's 30 days, and it's up and then it's gone. And they can tell us that it had X number of cars drive by or eyeballs on it. But with a Facebook ad, I can do it for a lot less. And then I can actually show, this is exactly how many impressions you got. This is how many people you reached. This is how many people clicked. And so the metrics are pretty phenomenal in comparison to a 30-day billboard.
Well, and the other thing about that too is that when you pay Facebook money, you're buying two things. You're buying the billboard space in your ad in front of people, but you're also buying data from Facebook that will teach Facebook how to show your ad to the right people more effectively. So you're
Mhm.
investing in making Facebook stronger and better and more efficient at delivering your ad at the same time as you're getting it in front of eyeballs, which is another reason why I feel like social media advertising can be such a powerhouse for local
Yeah.
businesses or digital businesses.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I think that's really true, and a lot of people don't think that you are really training the platform to get better at delivering ads for both the person viewing the ads as well as the business placing the ads. So, I mean, really, in terms of a realistic budget, it depends on what your objective is, but it could start as little as you know $5 a day and go up to
Mhm.
hundreds a day. depending on your objective and what the ROI is that you're expecting out of
Exactly.
that. Yeah, for sure. Because if one ad, you spend 25 on a lead and your ROI is $75,000 off a lead that you can convert, that is well worth it.
Mhm. It's an investment, and I think it's easy to forget sometimes because it's like, "Oh, $75," but if it earns you a multi $0 sale at the end of it, it can be worth it.
Yeah. And they become an ambassador for you as well if you do a really great
Yep.
job. So there's so many benefits to it. Now, anybody listening that's creating an ad and you can do this with a boosted post, but it's more limited. And then for the ad manager, and you're trying to define your target audience, and I know there's been some changes, but you're trying to define your target audience on Facebook and Instagram. What are some tips for creating that target audience with these upcoming changes or these changes that have started to happen with Facebook and Instagram?
The way that Facebook and Instagram have evolved lately, one of your most powerful tools for getting your ad in front of the right people are your images, your videos, and your words that you use in
Mhm.
your social media ad. And we call that the ad creative. But we're realizing that if we can have ad creative that speaks to our ideal customer, Facebook is smart enough now to put that in front of our ideal customer so that they're then able to take action. And so having an image that catches the attention of your ideal customer or words that actually say, hey,
Mhm.
like in my working with teachers, hey teachers, I've got this worksheet for you to look at, or that call out specifically to your person works really well. And then as you follow that along, having the offer that you're presenting to people also be something that is ideal to the buyer works well too, because then as Summer was talking about, you can have them buy one thing and then another thing
Yep.
and then maybe a more expensive thing later on down the line. And if that first one thing that you're offering is really the kind of thing that your ideal big ticket buyer is going to want, then it's a great way to attract that with the Facebook algorithm. So creative is one of our most powerful tools right now with ads. And then the
Mm.
other thing we use is data. And that comes from there's a little snippet of code that you can put on your website that we call the Facebook pixel, and it will watch the behavior of different people as they visit your website. It feeds that information back to Facebook so that Facebook knows which people are taking action on your site and which people are not. And so as Facebook collects that data, that's one of what we were talking about earlier with the investment in more than just a
Mm.
billboard, but
Yeah.
data. We're learning about your ideal customer and exactly what kinds of actions they take on your website. And Facebook's able to go, okay, I like that one because they did what we were hoping they would do. That one clicked and left. They're
Mhm.
probably not the best choice. And then finally, we can take to some degree, we can go into Facebook and we can say, okay, Facebook, this is what my ideal buyer looks like. These are the criteria that they have. These are the people that this is what an ideal buyer looks like for me. Will you make sure to show my ads to those people, please?
Mhm.
And that works well. And sometimes even to the point, if you have that pixel on your website and have set it up properly, you can even say, hey, Facebook, here's a list of all the people who have bought from me. Go find more people who look like them, please, because I know that they're good customers. So go find me some more, please. And those are some of the really powerful things we can do.
Yeah, and this is definitely for anyone listening, like these extras, the pixel and the lookalike audiences, you really need to be in the ad manager for that, right? So you need to create an ad account, you had to have an ad manager account, and you have to have your web team, put on the pixel so that,
Yes.
Facebook can follow these behaviors. And it used to be, and so Karen, you can, fill the audience in a little bit about this, but it used to be you could really hone in on, I want them to be in this area. I want them to be in this age group. I need them to um, have interest in this and that. And really, you're kind of guessing what you think they have
Right.
interest in, your ideal avatar has interest in. And Facebook would target exactly kind of what you were putting into the boxes for them. But now they are using the AI and their algorithm to find who they think is your ideal customer. Is that true?
Yeah, we can still do a little bit of that targeting, which is fun for those of us who really leaned into that. Like, for example, for teachers, I can say I want kindergarten teachers who subscribe to, Mailbox Magazine, which is a big deal
Yep.
magazine that teachers used to use. And I want them to have advanced degrees so they know they're in the classroom. You can still do that to a degree, but Facebook is pushing us in this direction of leaning on the creative and noticing the actions that people take within their Facebook properties to then determine who to show your ad to. And it's actually gotten surprisingly smart, which
Mm-hmm.
in turn is making boosted posts more effective than they used to be. Because there
Interesting.
was a time where I would say, only do ads manager. Boosted posts are just difficult or not as effective.
Sure.
But boosted posts are getting smarter because Facebook is getting smarter.
Mm.
And it is using AI. It's looking at your creative and then looking at who clicks and then looking at who takes action and then being able to say, okay, I'm going to show this ad to this person based on what I've seen.
Okay,
And
so
it's
I want
becoming
more Beckys. I want more people. Becky clicked. She's this age group. She lives in
right.
this area. She has these interests. So Becky clicked on that ad creative. Becky read that caption. And so I'm going to show the ad to more Beckys.
Exactly.
Okay.
And Facebook's watching the customers clicks, your leads clicks and their comments and their shares, and they're watching who engages with all of the different pieces of your ad and then forming an audience around that.
Yeah, which is fascinating and so creepy at the same time.
Very
Right?
creepy. One of my ads manager friends told me yesterday, she said, okay, we were having this conversation on this topic, and she went on Facebook and commented on somebody else's Facebook post. Hey, I am looking at this particular issue. And 5 minutes later, she had an ad in her feed about that particular issue.
Yeah.
And there's no one else to blame except Facebook.
It
And
is creepy. Like, I'm sure I'm now going to see all sorts of Facebook and ad companies appear now in my
Mhm.
feed because my phone is listening, sitting right next to me. Like, it's
Yeah.
it's exciting, but in like the potential for your product and your services to appear in front of the perfect, ideal client because of the advancements in this technology is really exciting and fascinating. But from, a consumer's perspective, it's kind of like, ew, they're listening to me. So the only thing I think of is they're listening to me, but I am now having products and services appear in my feed that are more relevant to my interests. Where 5 years ago, 10 years ago, that wasn't the case. It was just,
Mhm.
I would see things and I'm like, why is this in my feed? And I have to say, because the algorithm has gotten better, I do now see things that are much, much more relevant for me, that I would buy or I would use or recommend than I ever have in the past.
Well, because Facebook's ultimate goal is for you to have a good user experience on their platform so that you
Mhm.
will come back, because the more you come back, the more ads they can show you, and ads is how they make their money. And so they
Absolutely.
want it to be a pleasant experience for you. And so they are going to try to engineer it in a way so that it is a nice place for you to be. And that includes showing you ads that you will find helpful and pleasant as
Yeah.
opposed to ones that you'll find annoying and obnoxious.
Yeah, or the ones that I spend more money on. So, it's
Yeah, well,
funny.
that too. They
Yeah,
do want you to spend money
they
because
do.
then people like me will spend money on behalf of my clients, and that's what they're really after is
Yes.
money from
It's a
ads
cycle, it's a
people.
cycle, yes.
Mhm.
So for you've been doing this since 2018. I've been doing this for just as long, and what are some common mistakes that you have seen small businesses make when they're first setting up their Instagram or Facebook ad campaigns, and how can they avoid these mistakes? Because it's easy, like we've said before, the back end of the platform, the ad manager is just a little bit cumbersome and to learn. And I don't think it's very intuitive.
No. I don't think so either
So
at
I think
all.
mistakes are quite common. But what are
Yeah,
some mistakes that you've seen, and how can small businesses avoid making those mistakes?
right. I have the privilege of once a week working with a group of beginners who are just launching their ads. And we go
Mm.
once a week, I show up. In fact, it's later today, and I help them build their ads. And so I notice which mistakes they're making and not with their building. One of the things that they're doing that doesn't seem like it would be a problem, but is huge, is they are falling prey to scams on Facebook, because the
Oh.
minute you run an ad campaign or start an ad campaign with any significant amount of spend on Facebook, you
Mhm.
catch the attention of scammers, and they start messaging you and saying, "Hey, you're breaking the rules. Facebook's
Yeah.
going to shut you down. You better message me back so that I can help you. And you give me your password, or and then you
Mm.
you give me all your line information. I'll fix it for you." No, that's not what's
No.
going on. Facebook, number one, will never ask you for your password. Number
Okay.
two, if they're gonna shut you down, they won't warn you. They just do it.
Yes,
and
I've had that
and
happen.
yeah, it does. It just happens. They don't give you any warning. And number three, there's just a lot of scammers out there that are either trying to get your password to get into your account, or to sell you crypto that's fake, or those kinds of things. And that's honestly been the biggest obstacle for my new ads people, my people who are just learning ads.
Yep.
They launch their ads, and all of a sudden they're like, "Karen, my ad account's going to get shut down." I'm like, "No, you're fine. It's going
Yeah.
to be okay." So
Yeah.
that's really one of the biggest obstacles, is just learning what to believe and not to believe about what you're seeing on Facebook. And that's even true when you're looking at the numbers.
Mhm.
Learning which numbers matter is huge, and realizing that, yeah, this one has a lot of likes, but it's not the one that's getting you people to sign up or take action or do that kind of thing. That's another thing that's tricky. And
Yeah,
then the
that's interesting.
other thing that I find people run into is they expect Facebook to be the magic bullet. They're like,
Mm.
"Well, things aren't working, so I'm going to run ads, and then we're going to be fine." And
Yes.
that's just never going to work, because Facebook is a tool for amplifying your results. And
Yes.
so if things aren't working, you go, "I'm just going to run ads and I'll fix it." You're just going to amplify your mistakes. And so making sure
Mhm.
that you have something that's worth selling before you put it on Facebook, and that you actually have a process for selling it, is really important. And just having good expectations, and knowing that your dollar probably won't go as far as you'd like it to on Facebook, and that it's not going to take a mediocre business and make it an amazing business. It will take an amazing business and make it even more amazing,
Yeah.
but it's a different sort of thing.
No, I
So
think
those are
that that is
things.
all you had so many points here I mean, so many good
Sorry.
points too. No, I love it. So, we see the same thing. And on episode 14 of Small Biz Big Wins, I'll put this in the show notes, but we had a whole podcast about how easy scammers are getting into accounts, and the havoc of the hacking, and not don't click on those links, don't fall prey to
Yeah.
those messages, right? Like you said, Facebook is not going to message you and threaten you like that. And so that is really important for people to realize. And talk a little bit more on, because I think it's a lot like expecting Facebook or Instagram or Pinterest or any social media account, platform, whether you're organic or it's paid, to be a magic bullet, and all of a sudden amplify your business is false, right? That is something
Really.
that is, that's the top of the funnel. And in any marketing, you have the top of the funnel where you're just literally garnering awareness and getting people. You need to nurture the people down the funnel and build their trust. And so talk a little bit more about how people, the things that you see people doing, like maybe it is, I have a program and I want to sell, more classes, but they don't have any follow up. They don't have any nurturing. They don't have a website that's ready for it, right? But they
Right.
have these expectations. It's kind of like me buying a gym pass. I can buy a gym pass. That's not going to make me lose
Mhm.
weight. Like, I actually have to go to the gym and do the work. And it's the same with having a business, building a product, building a service. You can't just expect Facebook to all of a sudden garner 100 sales overnight. when you have no process.
Right.
So maybe talk a little bit more about that.
Yeah, it really, the Facebook ads aren't what earn the sale. This Facebook ads give you visibility, but it
Mhm.
is your existing sales process that's going to earn you the sale. And so if you have a solid sales process, you're in the right direction. The
Okay.
thing that gets tricky with Facebook ads is recognizing that someone who comes into your orbit and into your world and meets you from Facebook looks really different than someone who maybe walks into your shop or already knows you or referred to you by the lady down the street who needs a new dentist. The
Mhm.
someone who comes into your world from a Facebook ad was sitting on their couch, not even thinking about, let's take the dentist example, the fact that they maybe wanted a new dentist. They were
Mhm.
scrolling on their phone, probably also watching TV and maybe even talking to their kids at the same time. They're like,
Sure.
oh, dentist. Yeah, I need to do that. Click. So you have to take this virtual stranger off of Facebook and Instagram, introduce yourself, convince them that you are worthy of their click, convince them that they do want to sign up for an appointment, and then
Mhm.
actually get them to show up for that appointment. And that's a much harder process than Jane, who got referred by her best friend Betty to call the dentist because he's just such a nice man and did a great job with her teeth.
Yep.
It's just, it's you're doing a different sales process. And so when we were talking about mistakes that I see people making when they're new to ads, it's just expecting that somebody on Facebook or over here will automatically behave the same way as someone who was referred by a current customer of yours. There's a process of going from clicking on Facebook to actually buying something, and it's a different process than someone who's maybe walked into your shop. Or, I was thinking about real estate agents, they get referred a
Mhm.
lot,
Yeah.
and having a real estate client come in because you sold the house down the street, it's a totally different thing from somebody seeing a pretty house on Facebook and deciding, I want to work with this woman.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, you've got great content, a great visual piece, someone clicks over and then your website is clunky and they can't get to the next step, or they go on to buy the product that you've just advertised and it takes forever to load because your load speed is really bad. Or
Mhm.
let's say your goal is to get them to sign up for an email and you bring them to a sales page and they have to scroll forever to get to the place to sign up for the
Mhm.
email because you don't have it in multiple spots on your page. I mean, there are all of these things to be thinking about so that you are getting your money's worth when you place in a Facebook ad,
Right.
and we tell people this all day long. We can spend your money and we can place the ads and we can get people to your site, but then what are you going to do from there? If that's
Mhm.
all we're doing, like if our goal is just social media marketing and it is just ads for them and we don't have anything to do with the website or we don't have anything to do with the email, right? Because their marketing could be fragmented, and then we can't be responsible for that next step of conversion.
Right.
And I think that's
Right.
where people get disappointed. Like, well, I didn't convert any. Well, you had 50 leads. Did you call them?
Mhm.
Well, yeah, I had, Joe call him like, a couple weeks after they came in. Yeah, we were busy.
Mhm. Yeah.
Okay. That
Yeah.
lead was on the couch thinking about it. You needed to be calling right away.
Yeah. Exactly.
So
Well,
it,
and the other thing that you said that reminded me is, they click over and everything loads slow and the page isn't the best. Facebook will limit your ad reach if your
mm,
landing page is not high quality. It pays attention to that and it decides, which ads it's going to show more often and how they're going to compete against the other ads based on the post click experience, is what Facebook calls it. And if
okay.
you have a click experience, your ad is going to be more expensive. And so that's another thing just to consider.
To consider,
One of the
yeah.
things, one of my early business coaches gave this advice. She says that Facebook ads are a little bit like a match, and you're in the woods and you've got a campfire and you've got just one match. That's your Facebook ad spend. And so if
Mm,
you've got just one match in the woods and you're building a campfire to light them with the match, you're going to build the best campfire you possibly can. You're going to make it perfect and make sure the processes work. Maybe test it as much as you can. We can't test a fire, but make sure
sure.
it's built as well as it can be
Yeah.
before you set the Facebook ad match dollar to it, because it's your only one.
Yeah,
And
no,
so
that
you
makes a
have
lot of
to,
sense. Like, is your wood
Mhm,
wet or is it dry? Like, did you get, like
exactly,
it's the same thing. You have to do that due diligence before you just all of a sudden say, hey, I want to throw, $100 and then be
right,
disappointed at the end because, you know, it didn't convert for you. And you're like, well,
right,
Facebook ads didn't work for me. Is it that Facebook ads didn't work? Or, were you not prepared? Did you not have that sales
right.
process ready? And I think that is a common mistake that we see as well. And a lot of
Mm,
people don't understand that you need to have all of that, ready before you place the Facebook ad. So, those small businesses that are listening and you want to run Facebook ads, really think about what is your objective. That will determine how much you're going to spend. And then, are you prepared? Do you have your sales process ready? If you are going to collect leads, do you have somebody ready to call that person and
mhm,
follow up with the lead or to email that person? If you're collecting emails, do you have an email funnel created so that you're nurturing that new person? Because there's a difference between a warm, a hot, and a cold lead. And this is like the basic of sales. Like we should probably have a salesperson on here, but
sure.
these are just basic. A warm lead is someone saying, to your neighbor, they should buy from you. Okay, that came from a recommendation. A cold lead is someone right off Facebook that you've never met
Yep.
and that just saw you, and they are freezing cold and you need to warm them up, and that's going to take that nurturing. So small businesses, don't just give Facebook and Instagram your money because they'll take it.
Yes, it will. That's one thing that's different about Facebook than Google.
Mm-hmm.
Facebook spends your money. If you put money out there, Facebook
Yes.
says, "Great, I'll find some people to show your ad to. Will they be the right one? Maybe, maybe not, but I'll
Yeah,
spend your money."
I'll
Sure.
spend your money. So make sure that you have that process ready. A quick shout out to our sponsor, Keep It Real Social, an award winning marketing agency. They're not just marketers, but storytellers, making your business shine. Thanks to Keep It Real Social for empowering us and our listeners in the digital world. For your digital marketing solutions, check out keepitrealsocial.com. Back to Small Biz Big Wins for more insights and inspiration. Talk a little bit about AI and how Facebook is using it to help you create great campaigns.
Yeah, well, it's hard to know exactly what Facebook is doing, but I can tell you what I am seeing in terms of results from my client that sort
Okay.
of suggest what Facebook is doing. We know that Facebook has a method for prioritizing ads and what to show and what not to show. And we know that's gotten much smarter in the last year. We
Mhm.
also know that the ads compete in an auction process. That's how Facebook partly decides what to show, is that based on
Yep.
how much I've said I can spend and how well Facebook says my ad will do, we go into an auction and try to win space in your ad feed. And so those processes of identifying high quality ads and helping people participate in the auction have gotten much smarter in the last year, so that
Okay.
Facebook is doing a better job at putting your ad in front of the right person. The other thing that has changed with the AI is our ability to measure creative and see what performance works and doesn't. And Facebook now will test like three different ads within the same sort of campaign, three different images against one another with three different versions of copy with three different headlines, and then come up with one permutation of all of those creative elements and say,
Mhm.
yeah, this is the one that gets the most clicks. We're going to serve this one.
Which I think is
And
fascinating and actually
mhm,
is really awesome because you can have, 3 really great visuals, one that might have a lot of text, one that might be, really graphic heavy, one that's just kind of
right.
a photo, and you think you've written great captions and you've paired everything really well, and that Facebook is kinda doing this mix and match and,
Mhm.
"Oh, more people clicked on this version," and then matching it up, it's like, awesome because it makes the person creating the ad, it makes their life a little easier too.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah.
And Facebook has just started adding kind of like Chat GPT inside of
Hmm.
Facebook. And I think it is actually the Chat GPT model where it'll say, hey, try this copy. Hey, try
Yeah.
this copy based on what it looks at your landing page, the link that you enter, and then the other creative assets that you add. It will come in and show up and say, hey, try this. But it's not as smart as it needs to be yet, because I last week had an incident where Facebook said, hey, you need to improve this ad. I have an idea for you. You need more copy. So
Yeah.
here, come in. And I went and looked and I said, okay, yep, you're right, Facebook. I've only got one version of copy. I should have three. It had three little options there for me. I said, I like that version. It's good.
Yeah.
Clicked it, relaunched the ad, and Facebook messaged me back and said, no, rejected. You're not allowed to say what it says in that copy.
Oh my
And
God.
so
Facebook rejected its own ad.
Facebook rejected its own ad copy as being against terms. And
Oh,
so I went back and I pulled the AI copy out, went back to my original copy, and Facebook's like, yeah, we're good now.
that's
So,
hilarious. Yeah, it's
yeah.
funny because Google is doing the same thing using the AI generation of text and headers and pulling
Mhm. Yeah.
stuff from your website or whatever landing page link you give it. And sometimes the copy is really good. And other times, because for Google ads, and same with Facebook, they'll have, 90 characters they want you to use or whatever. And then
Mhm.
they'll, give you a headline that has 30 and you could have 90 or something like that. And you're like, what? But
Yeah.
that's not what you're recommending. Why are you giving me such short like headings? And so yeah, you're right. It hasn't been perfected. They're obviously experimenting. So if anybody is creating ads on whatever platform, it's nice to use these tools that Facebook's coming up with, but just know they're not bulletproof yet.
Yeah, they're making allowing us to test creative much more quickly, which is
Hmm.
great because it's creative that is what I was just saying matters in terms of getting
Yeah.
our ads in front of the right people. So it's great that that process is sped up, but it's not bulletproof. Just like Chat GPT can come up with the wrong information, this is essentially Chat GPT and Facebook, and it's going to make mistakes. It's not perfect.
Yeah, it's not perfect. So you talked a lot, and you talked a few different times about how important creative is. And when you are an ad manager, you can upload, creative, and you can choose just to have one image. You can choose a carousel. You can do a video. Then they'll take your creative that you put in to the ad manager, and then they create reels and stories and in feed ads and messenger ads. So talk a little bit about what do you see working really well for small businesses? Like, is a static image okay? Or should you do a carousel? Or is it video all day, every day? Like, what are you seeing for some trends that you'd recommend? Or is it that answer of it depends?
It's close to it depends, but I can do a little bit better.
Okay.
The answer there is we should test.
Okay.
I can tell you for sure that reels are doing better for a lot of my clients. I can tell you that carousel ads are kind of hit and miss. For some of my clients, they
Mm-hmm.
take off and do beautifully, and for others of them, they kind of flop.
Mm-hmm.
And so what my biggest recommendation is, because I've got some clients who still do really well with images,
Mm-hmm.
is I try to put a variety of creative in each of my campaigns. I try to make sure that each one has at least one reel, at least one image, and at least one carousel,
Okay.
and test those three against one another. And then what's great is that Facebook does do a pretty good job of pulling out the best
The winners.
version to show
Yeah.
more often. And so then you can find out, what does your audience respond to? Because what
Sure.
your audience responds to might be different than your competition down the street or even a whole different industry,
Yeah.
because I do find that my clients get really different results. Carousels are like a 99% win for one niche that I work with.
Mm-hmm.
Reels are what's totally winning for another one. And then I've
Interesting.
got another client where I'm like, okay, reels are working. We need to do more. And we make reel after reel after reel, and the images keep winning and winning and winning. It's
Interesting.
so it's
Yeah.
all about testing. I do know for sure, though, that one of the reasons we're seeing more success with reels is because it is becoming a prioritized placement. TikTok and the pandemic changed how our culture engages with social media,
Yes.
and we are moving towards a short form video place. And I would go beyond that and say, not that we're moving towards it, but we are here.
I
This is a
agree.
short-term video world. And if things do politically move so that we lose TikTok,
Mhm.
that it will happen on Instagram instead. And
Mm.
all of the TikTok content will be even more present on Instagram.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. I
learning
agree.
how to leverage reels in a way so that you can get results is going to be an important thing. And it's tricky and it's hard because there's a lot of people who just like, I don't want to do video. I don't like it. I don't like having my face on
Yeah.
camera.
Yeah.
But
It is really hard. And but I go back to, it really does depend. So if you're listening and you are working with an agency like Keep Real Social, or you're working with Karen and you hear us say this, don't just call us up and say, I heard this and you need to be using more reels, because most likely they are experimenting with that and they are trying,
Mhm,
and it might not be performing as great for, your niche or your audience.
right.
Because like same with you, we have a client that honestly, the photos and graphics do better than the carousels, but or the reels, right? Just because of the demographic of their audience.
Mhm.
So you
Well, and
do need to experiment. You need to test. And it might change. One month it might be one way and the next month it might be another way.
Well, and the other thing about that with ads, because it's an auction system, the reels compete differently than the images. And
Mhm.
sometimes it just depends on the cost of the auction. Sometimes an image based auction is cheaper than a reels based auction. And so it's less expensive to get action takers with an image than a reel, simply
Yeah.
because the space is less competitive. So it's not even about who your audience, what it responds best to. It's about where Facebook can place it and the location that's most likely to get you the result you're asking for: purchase, lead, click,
Mhm.
method,
Mhm.
that
And
kind
that
of thing.
changes. Like we have a client that we run a really successful leads campaign for. And, one week the campaign will be doing really well. It has, a very low cost per the lead. And then the next week it's learning limited and the lead is,
Mhm.
the cost has increased. And again, it's the auction and there are things that
Yeah.
are out of our control other than increasing the budget, which is,
Yeah.
of course, Facebook wants us to do every single time. So it's you've got to understand that that's going to continually change, that auction and that price and the cost that you are paying
Mhm.
for everything. So what about somebody who really wants to do this themselves and learn? They have an interest in it. Obviously, you host a workshop in class and have, so I'll put your link in the show notes, but is it necessary or important to get that Facebook blueprint certification and the Facebook training for ads if you want to manage or create ads for your small business?
In my experience, I find that I have gotten better, more reliable information about running ads from people who aren't employed by Facebook. Um,
That's funny.
Yeah, the certification, in fact, I don't have the Blueprint certification.
Hmm.
I've tried to get it many times and I just get too busy with my clients,
Yep.
and it's I haven't found it to be particularly valuable. In fact, one of the things that you can run into with Facebook ads is that experts will call you on the phone, and I did air quotes there for people who are listening, because the people that call you from Facebook on the phone as experts, I find they generally don't even know half as much as I do about how Facebook actually works. Their
Oh my
kids are in
gosh,
college
Karen,
just selling things.
I think in total, I spent 4 hours with multiple chat agents and then now them calling me in an issue. And I think it was about 4 hours. And
Mhm,
every agent had a different piece of advice. Every agent told me something
mhm.
different. One agent could answer a question, the other agent couldn't. By the end of the
Yep.
4 hours, I was about ready. I can't say it was four. It was 4 hours, but by the end of the first hour, I was about ready to like put my head through the wall because it
Yes.
is very frustrating. And I'm kind of on the same page with you when people say stuff about the Facebook blueprint. Like, it's great that you can say you have this certification. And some agencies plaster it all over their website, very proud. But by the time you have completed that certification, there's new content and it's obsolete.
That's, in fact, one of the biggest issues I had is
Mhm.
that I created a course and 6 months later the course was obsolete. And that's happened to me more than once, which is
Yeah.
why I'm really grateful. I've got a colleague who's created a course and dedicated herself to refreshing the course
Oh,
on a
that's nice.
regular basis so that
Yeah.
I don't have to, because
Yeah.
that's the hard part about Facebook ads. It's exciting for me as a business owner and I love
For
it. It
sure.
keeps me challenged that it's changing. But to teach ads is really hard because even week
Mhm.
to week, what's happening is different. It's
Mhm.
really
Yeah.
it's challenging and support is just not helpful. What
No.
I do is I turn the way that you learn to run ads, in my experience, is simply by running ads. You can
Mhm.
study the platform all day long, but until you spend money and see the results, it's really hard to actually internalize what you're seeing
Yeah.
with ads. So the way that I get better at ads is, one is that I run them, but then I have trusted sources and experts sort of that I work alongside with. Some of them spend a significant amount more money than me so that they have even more expertise. And I go to
Yeah.
them, we talk together about what we're seeing, and then we implement it. That's where I get my best Facebook advice, is from
Mhm.
experts who are just a little more experienced or maybe spending a little more money
Sure.
than I am with my clients.
Well, they're in the weeds every day.
Yeah.
They're pulling up their bootstraps and they're doing the work and they're seeing it
Mhm.
firsthand. And, so it really does make a difference that the more you do it, the better you get at it, the more you're seeing the changes. You might see a beta test run out for one client that isn't on another client's ad platform. And so when you're doing it, it's same with running social media campaigns. The more we do it, obviously the better we get. But I
Right.
always, and I should have had this disclaimer at the very beginning, anything that Karen and I talk about today could be obsolete tomorrow
Tomorrow.
or in an hour, like, because
Yeah.
it does change so darn quickly. But this is the best advice we can give you at the given time for running your Facebook and Instagram ads. And it is ever evolving, and it just keeps getting better. I do think that is the
I agree
case.
with that. My ads are so much smarter than they were even a year ago.
Yeah,
It's
for
easier
sure.
to get good results, which is why I don't hesitate to say, "Hey, if you're just starting out, try boosting a post," or,
Mhm.
"Hey, work with your current social media agency
Mhm.
to get your ad content out there. And then as you scale it, then think about maybe investing in an ad specialty agency." But
Sure.
it's easier to get results without completely nuanced skill
Yeah.
sets.
Yeah, for sure. And we always tell people when they're like, well, we want to do this and they have the sales process and they're ready to handle it, we're going to start small. And when we start to see the metrics and we start to see the results, then we will increase the spend, because I don't want to give Facebook any more money than we have to. And so we're going to see. And I had a client this last November. Um, we started the campaign in October and I was not seeing the results. I was not happy with them. I tweaked, I worked hard at it. Yes, we could have increased the budget. And I just finally had to say, I think we need to just stop. Like, I'm wasting your money.
Mhm.
And sometimes you have to do that, and that is okay. And it could be a lot. It could have been the auction, it could have been the other ads running at that time of the year, it could have been her product. I doubt that, but it could have been. So you just kind of never know with all those variables. But what metrics are really important for small businesses to focus on to measure the success of a Facebook and ad campaign, a Facebook and Instagram ad campaign, when you're looking at the metrics, because you love the numbers?
I love the numbers. And the answer to that, again, it's kind of an "it depends" answer, but it's really, you want to measure the metric that you want as your result. And so when I set up ad campaigns, there's really mostly four different things I'm going after.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going after a sale, I'm going after an email sign up, I'm going after a click, or I'm going after a like, comment, or share. And
Okay.
so I want to measure the cost of whatever it is I'm going after. So if I'm going after a purchase, I want to look at the cost per purchase that I'm paying and make sure that it's what matches how much my product costs, and that
Okay.
it's less than what my product costs and less than it costs me to deliver that product. If I'm going after cost per lead, I want to look at it and make sure that it's within industry standards and as low
Mm-hmm.
as we can said it for our kid and for our client, and leads is like an email sign up.
Sure.
And so I look closely at the result that I'm asking Facebook for.
Got
That's
it.
my first thing. And then I start to kind of look at other metrics as they relate to that result. And so, for
Okay.
example, when I'm collecting email registrations, I know that the click rate, the cost per click, and the cost per platform, and how many people sign up after they've clicked, those three metrics come together to form the cost per result. So if I don't
Okay.
like the cost per result, I start digging into those other three metrics.
Okay. So
Yeah.
again, if you're a small business owner and you're listening to this and you're doing it yourself, everything Karen said, you're probably like, "What?"
Yeah.
Like that is a lot. Okay, Summer, Karen, can you help me? Because that's the thing people need to understand that are doing it themselves, that when you hire a professional, they're looking at all of these metrics and these things, and they're looking at what are industry standards. And again, they're every single day in the weeds. So they're seeing really how to tweak everything and make it better. So and I think talk a little bit about vanity metrics, because I think some
Well,
people get
yeah.
really like hooked on these vanity metrics. They like look really great, but it doesn't mean that it produced the results that the small business
Mhm.
needs.
Well, and I think that's exactly it. You need to be really clear about the result that you want and how much it's costing, like I said, but you also need to make sure that it's the result that's going to bring you profit and revenue.
Mhm.
And likes, comments, and shares generally don't bring profit and revenue.
No.
And
So if you just
so,
want an awareness campaign, you just want a billboard, you just want more people to
mhm,
see and know who you are, that's a great, great. You want eyeballs and impressions all day long. But if you want the next step, yes, you have to measure the correct metrics.
yeah, and you need to go after the correct metrics too.
Mhm.
We and you need to watch the ad to see if it's getting them. I had an issue with a client a couple months ago. It was really funny. We were getting ready to have a client call, and I had done my reports and looked at all of the numbers, and I knew which ad was getting our result, our email signups at the lowest cost. And the client showed up, and we were there, and we're like, we got one ad that's really working. And the ad that they had that was really working was very different from the ad that I had that was really working, because their
Interesting.
ad was getting lots and lots of comments, which is what they could see.
Mhm.
And they're like, we think this is the ad that's working. It's getting all the comments, it's getting the engagement. And I could see that too. It was getting likes, comments, and shares, which is
Sure.
awesome. But what we were trying to get, our result was we wanted email signups. And the ad
Mm,
that I had identified was getting the email signups. Because if
interesting.
people like, comment, and share on your ad, that's great.
Sure.
Your ad gets a little extra boost, but they go away from your world and they never see you again.
Yep.
If they sign up for your email list, then you have earned the right to sell to them more often in your email
Yes.
list.
Yes.
And so that was the more valuable thing. And the client, once they realized that our other ad was getting more leads, they're like, oh, yeah, of course. I want the email signups, the comments, they can go away. And
Yeah.
so we agreed to start going all in on the one ad that was getting the result that we wanted, which was email
Mm,
signups, because that was valuable to us. We knew email
yeah.
signups would turn into customers. Likes, comments, and shares, we did not think would turn
Yeah,
into
and that was
customers.
vanity, that felt good. That was
Hmm.
a
Hmm.
number that's like, "Okay,
Yeah.
look at I'm popular," right? But
Yeah.
no, you can't sell to those people after, unless they've liked your page, and then you can put out an organic post, and they might be within that 1 to 4% that see your organic post, and then you
Yeah.
are remarketing to them. But that email sign up, which is a whole nother episode, because I think a lot of people miss the boat by not taking advantage of collecting emails. I think email is very
Hmm.
much alive and thriving, and every small business needs to be growing and owning their list. But that's another episode. So,
It's no.
yeah, that's a whole nother episode. So, how often do you recommend, or how often do you refresh ad creative? Like, do you run 3-month campaigns, 6-month campaigns, 1-month campaigns? And are you refreshing the creative often? Or are you just putting in a lot of creative and then letting Facebook kind of choose the combinations?
Yeah. So I again, I'm gosh, such a broken record. It depends, but I can tell you I do have benchmarks. What I've got one client where we have been running the same ad creative for over a year. And the reason I'm okay with that is because those numbers I was talking about are
Mhm.
really strong numbers. And we know that she's getting results from that campaign. And we can follow the line and say, yep, this campaign is bringing us customers. And so we're not going to break or fix what isn't broken.
Yep. If it
But at
ain't
the
broke,
same
don't
time,
fix it, people. Like, if it's
exactly,
working, keep going. Yeah.
especially on Facebook. But I've got another client where basically every 2 weeks we have to go in and put in new creative. And we
Wow.
know that because we see her clicks drop off. People stop clicking on her ads, which is ad fatigue, is what we call it. People have seen it too
Mhm.
many times. And her purchases drop off. And so,
Interesting.
because this is a client who's running ads to a course, and so we put the ad out there, they watch
Mhm.
a little video course from her. And after the video course, she says, hey, you should buy my course, my regular course. And then they buy. And so we know if we're not getting people to watch her free class, they don't buy her regular class. If people
Got
aren't
it.
clicking, they don't watch her free class. So we, since the clicks drop off every 2 weeks, sometimes we can go a month. We know we have to change the creative so we can get people to watch her free class so that then they buy her regular class. And it's watching those numbers that tell us, oh, ready
Yeah.
for new creative.
Yeah, you
People
have
aren't
to pay
clicking anymore.
attention. I find that when we are running ads in a very small geographic area, it's very
Yes.
geo-targeted, the ad fatigue is extremely common. So maybe it's just the state of Michigan and we're running an ad in just the state of
Mhm.
Michigan and maybe it's a 3-month campaign. That ad fatigue happens a lot faster if we're running
Yes.
an ad that's throughout the entire United States, just because you have such a small segment of people and they are
Mhm.
going to see the ad more than once, especially with how the algorithm works. So, great advice for anyone listening. You have to go in, it is nice to create an ad campaign or boost a post and kind of set it and forget it. But you do need to check in with that ad and see if there are things that you can do to tweak and watch those numbers. Because if you aren't doing that, most likely you're throwing money away too
Mhm.
by
Yeah.
not optimizing or by running an ad that isn't meeting your objectives. So, I
Yeah.
mean, unless you just want to donate to Facebook, um, you got to be checking in. So it's not always a set and forget. I mean, there are definitely
Mhm.
some clients we have that we get luckier than others where we don't have to check in
Mhm.
on a lot because we've kind of got the secret sauce down, but Facebook can change that at any time.
Absolutely. And
Yeah.
it does. It can really make a difference. One thing you were talking about with the state of Michigan, being small and the ad creative kind of getting
Mhm.
tired more quickly. The other thing that's true about those small audiences is that the auctions are more competitive because it's a smaller group. So it's
Mhm.
more expensive to show those ads with those smaller audiences,
Yeah,
which is another reason why you have to keep that creative fresh because you want to be making sure you can go into that auction with strong creative that Facebook's going to go, yes.
for sure. Yeah. And that's anytime when you're running a campaign where the geographic area is small, like maybe it's just
Mhm.
two states,
Yeah.
but you have to really be paying attention to that. So what are copy is so important. You mentioned that earlier in the algorithm, or not, well, the AI that Facebook is
Yeah,
now
and the
using.
algorithm too, to a
And
degree.
the algorithm. So what are some, tips or little pieces of advice for creating really compelling ad copy and visuals that you see convert? Because you've been doing this for a long time and this is what you do day in and day out. So what are some tips that you have?
The first thing is something we talked about just a couple minutes ago, and that's testing a variety of things,
Mhm.
testing the reel against the carousel versus those kinds of things. And then if you do find that images work, test different types of images against one another.
Okay.
One with a lot of text, one with less text, and
Mhm.
do a lot of testing. And then what's working really well for me lately is once I've sort of tested some things and I find something that's working, maybe a certain combination of text with a video, then I
Mhm.
sort of iterate on that and come up with
Mm.
micro changes. Once I know it works, I do test big different things in the beginning,
Sure.
image versus video. Once I find something that works, I start making smaller changes. And so, like, I'll have
Okay.
a video and I know that a certain text overlay works. And
Very
so I'll
nice.
put a different video with the text overlay and a different video with the same text
Mhm.
overlay, so that I have maybe 5 different videos with a different text overlay, and then I pick the winner of that. And then I take maybe that winning video and put different text overlays on it. And
Yeah.
so micro changes after sort of micro macro testing is what's working really well.
Yeah,
Um,
that makes a lot of sense. I mean, the more testing, and I think for, for small businesses listening too, with the continual testing you're doing and looking at the metrics all the time, you are doing this for budgets. And I just really want to preface this for budgets that are $5,000 and up, right? So the clients are expecting like that. I mean, the time you're going to spend on a $5,000 campaign versus a $100 campaign is going to be significantly different.
Absolutely. And
Yeah,
also, it's important to know too that Facebook is doing a lot of the heavy lifting for me in that department. I
sure.
mean, I show up and I say, "Okay, Facebook, which one?" Facebook says, "Here's your winner." So
Yeah.
it's not like I'm like keeping a spreadsheet and writing down numbers on every single one. But
Okay.
yes, the higher the budget, the more time investment it requires. And
For
so,
sure.
and the higher the budget, the more creative you want to use. With my
Mhm.
beginners that I was talking about that I meet with once a week, they usually we don't test a lot of creative, because if you're not spending very much on Facebook, it can't handle a campaign with a lot of creative. It's going to
Okay.
split that budget up into like little micro segments that aren't even going to be statistically significant. And so, yeah, this
Sure.
ad may have won, but by like 2 cents. I mean, so
Yeah.
when you are just starting out, maybe just test one or two things, see how
Sure.
they compare, and maybe only test ad creative and don't test audiences, or maybe only
Mhm.
test leads versus clicks and don't test anything else.
Sure.
Just make small tests. The smaller the budget,
Okay.
have fewer variables.
That makes a lot of sense. Yeah, so I just don't like want people to think like, "Oh my gosh, I'm going to spend all of this time and I'm going to be doing all of this stuff and, I only want to spend $50 a day like for 2
Yeah,
weeks." Like that isn't going to be worth any agency's time or your time to be doing that. Um
right.
but if the campaign is significant and large, yeah, there's a big difference. I mean, you're kind of apples and oranges here. But, I just want to preface that for anybody small business listening that yeah, these larger campaigns, when you're spending $5,000, you're going to expect your ad manager or your campaign manager or your agency to be doing a lot more work than a small campaign.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
that is, we were talking about mistakes earlier. That is one that I see people make a lot. Like, hey, I'm going to on this one have my brand in blue, and in this one have my
Mm,
brand in light blue, and let's see which one works better. It doesn't matter really. I mean,
yeah.
and it's
Yeah.
not really worth testing. But this call to action versus this call to action, or this angle to sell your product versus this angle to sell your product, could be a big
Could
deciding
be a
factor.
really big difference. Yeah. How about in terms of copy? What do you see for emojis? Like, do you think that they should be left out? Do you see that they get someone's attention? Does Facebook, the algorithm, not like them?
Yeah, we tend to put emojis in most of our ads, but I don't think they move the needle. I'll
Okay.
tell you, when it comes to ads and copy, the most important thing that you can do is make sure that your very first line is super powerful and packs a punch. When you go on Facebook later today, take a look as you're
Yeah, I'm
scrolling.
going to. Now I'm
Look
going
at
to go
the
back to all the
ad
ads I'm running right now and be like, okay, are we packing a punch?
and notice that first line is the only thing that shows when you're in the
Mhm.
feed. There's not really more than that. There's
Yeah.
maybe 3 lines, but not much, which means that's your first chance to earn the first click. To get a click on
Mhm.
it, to get an action on an ad, you actually have to click a few times. So there's that first line that really packs the punch, and then you have to click see more. And so
Mhm.
the first line is in charge of earning that see more click. And if the see more click fails and you don't get that, the rest of your copy doesn't ever get seen and doesn't matter. So when it comes to
Yeah.
ad copy, look at that first line closely. I don't care whether it has emojis or not. Make sure that you earn the see more so that they read the rest of your copy, so that then you click the actual button that takes you to the website.
Yeah.
There's
Well,
actually 2 clicks on an ad.
and this is just like an email campaign. I mean, your subject
Mhm.
line is
Yeah.
important. Like even the
Yep.
magazines on the shelf, the ads that, they put on the, their little captions and their headlines in the magazine, that gets you to take it off the shelf and to read
Mhm.
more. And blog posts, I mean, in 2008, I spent 10 years blogging, and oh my gosh, how much time we would spend writing
Mhm.
different, subject lines for emails and then different blog post titles because it makes a difference. So it's the
Well,
same way for ads.
it is, and the one thing that's great that's different with ads from organic is that you also need a headline, so that helps a little
Mhm.
bit. And we were talking about AI. That's one thing I found AI is really good at. I say,
Mm,
AI, create 5 headlines for this Facebook post or this Facebook
yes.
ad. And sometimes I will strip the copy off of the landing page and say,
Mm,
okay, Facebook, write the copy. And it doesn't usually write good copy. It uses
yeah.
cheesy words. But then I'll
Yes.
say, and please write 5 headlines. The headlines are usually pretty good.
Yeah, and we found the same thing. It can be really great at writing headlines. It can be great at taking ideas for, like, we'll
Mhm.
give them 5 ideas and for an article and write, 10 subject lines. But it's AI and ChatGPT, again, this is another episode, but it works best if you know what prompts to give it. And so when we give it the right prompts and tell it to not use certain words or don't use adjectives, or it performs so much better and can really create some very powerful headlines for an ad or for a subject line for an email. But again, it's what you ask of it.
Mhm. Well, you're gonna have to tell me how you get it not to use certain words because
Yeah, well,
that's
we
what it even when
literally
I
will
say
say,
no,
like,
oh,
"Do not." It still will do it?
yeah, like the excite,
Oh.
engage,
Mm,
inspire, all the classic AI words. I say, "Don't
yeah.
use it," and it'll put a different I think the problem is that there's too many of the words that I don't like that I say, and it's
Yeah,
like, I
well, and
gotta
that
use
might
one of them.
you might wanna try, actually, instead of giving the words, to change the tone.
Yeah,
Ask for the tone to be, don't write in an excited tone, write in a calm tone, or, actually
yeah,
give it more of the tone that you want it to write in, because it tends to write in a more excitable,
yeah.
enthusiastic, manner versus, you might want to change that tone a little bit and see what happens. But yeah, I know
I
it's
asked it
we're
to
all
write like
learning.
Shakespeare last week, and it did an awesome job writing like Shakespeare. And then I said, "Do you know who my client is?" And it said, "Yes, this is your client. She does this, 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 and this." I said, "Can you write in her tone?" And it was like, "No." It gave me the
Yeah.
exact same stuff.
I know, but that's the thing. I think we are learning about how to use AI. Facebook and,
Mhm.
the platforms are learning how to use AI. They're learning how to discern
Yes.
what is AI when they're showing
Mhm.
organic posts as well. So, I mean, we're really in this wild, wild west of
Absolutely.
trying to figure it all out, though AI has been around for years and years and years and years. And this is nothing new. However, more people are using it and recognizing it. And so the algorithms are having to change on how they're deciphering what is written by
Right.
AI and, ChatGPT and what isn't. And then again, they're trying on their own platform in the back end, trying to figure out how to best use it,
Mhm.
because I think that a lot of the small business owners and users are becoming a little dependent on it, and not like, it's
Oh,
like
yeah.
you can write your own copy without it. Like, try it. Like, you were probably good at it before and now you are using it as a crutch. Like,
I've got
you can
copywriters showing up with non-disclosed AI copy, and I'm like, "Hey, I know that's not your copy."
what?
I
Oh my
mean,
god,
it's
that's
hard to I haven't been able to say it in different times, but yeah, it's just
yeah.
and I had an agency I was working with, and I loved it because they would say, "Here's our copy, and then here's our human edited AI copy," so that I would know
Mhm.
the difference. And then I would present
Yeah.
it to the client blind and be like, "Okay, here's 2 copy, one of them's AI. Let me
Yeah.
know if you don't like one of them, and I'll take it out." And most of the time, they would like the human edited AI. Sometimes we've done really
Yeah.
well, but
Yeah, I
there's
think
just
it
some of those
depends. And
words that don't
and I
work.
I think that in ChatGPT and AI can be really great at taking something that you've written and they can make it better or they can add to it
Mhm.
or, but
Yes.
you're going to always have to go in and edit. And, I had a client one time ask, hey, we want regular blog posts. Can't you just put this like once a week, put the topic in and just have ChatGPT write it? I'm like, no, I can't do that. Like that. No,
No.
no, I'm not gonna do that.
Oh.
Like, I will write, the content and I will ask them for ideas. I will ask them
Mhm.
for, subject lines. Like, I will, use it to better it, but I can't just
Mhm.
put it in and it's probably gonna be inaccurate. And,
Yeah.
like, I'm gonna spend more time correcting the inaccuracies than if I just wrote it myself. So,
Yep.
it's not like the be all for everybody, but it definitely can make your work faster
Mhm.
if you use it
Yeah.
right. So, yeah,
Yeah.
but I know we kinda got off of that topic here, but
Did.
whatever.
It's
It's
hard
a
not to
great
talk about
topic to
AI.
have. I know it's a good
Yeah.
topic to have. So, one last question, well, before I ask you my big question, but are there any recent changes or trends? Like we talked about ChatGPT and AI being used in Facebook, but are there any other trends that small business owners need to be aware of for Facebook and Instagram advertising that you've seen or that you've heard in through the grapevine that's coming our way?
There are two things we really already talked about. The one is the fact that we're getting less control over our targeting, which means that
Mhm.
our creative is going to matter more.
Okay.
That's actually good news for small businesses because it's the nuanced targeting that's hard for ads. So
Yeah.
if you know your business's values and your clients and what you're after, you just
Mhm.
need to write about it and create a picture that shows it, which is easier for the
Sure.
average person. So that's actually good news is that the targeting is going away. Ads are getting easier.
Mhm.
And not only are individuals going to have an easier time creating ads, but agencies who only have a little bit of specialty in it are also going to be able to do a better job running ads without
Yeah.
having to have deep experience with ads management. So that's good news and a change.
Okay.
And then the other thing is that short form video is going to start taking up more of our real estate in when it comes to social media. But
Okay.
that
And
that's it's a transition. It's easier. It's turning out to be easier than I thought. I was not excited about it, to be honest. But
yeah.
I've numbers are showing me what to do, which is how it always is.
Yeah, yeah, definitely let the numbers guide you. And I don't think anybody listening should be really surprised that,
No.
we're seeing more of that. So you just kind of got to roll with it and something new in 5 years or 2 years will come our way and it might not be short form. So let's just wait and see. It's ever
Yeah,
changing. It's this
absolutely.
this landscape is ever changing. So you've been in business since 2018 and you've worked with a lot of clients over the years. Have you had a big business win that you can share with our listeners to inspire them? And there's all sorts of big wins. Like it could be monetary, it could
Mhm.
be an award, it could just be that you had an ad that converted and made a client a lot of money.
Yeah, I think my big win is kind of more general than that, and it's actually just being here in business.
Mm,
6 years later, especially with a platform like Facebook that changes so much.
yeah.
In, it was around 2021, there was a big change. Apple and, Facebook got in a fight. And basically, Apple said, I'm going to take my toys and go home. You can't use my data anymore. And we've been talking about how important data is. And that kind
Yeah.
of broke Facebook for a little bit. And so clients stopped getting results. And a lot of ads managers really struggled. And
Hmm.
it was hard. And my friends and I were all like, I hope we can keep going. And it's
Yeah.
we made it through that, and I'm still here. I still have a business. I still have clients who are getting better results than they ever have.
That's
Um,
awesome.
yeah, and it's great. I've got clients who are getting seven-figure results from their ad campaigns, and
Wow.
that's just exciting to know that Facebook can deliver the power still,
A
even
hundred
after
percent.
their big fight. Mhm.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, anybody that's on the fence, about whether or not they should run advertising on a platform, you have to realize that it's just the landscape has changed where organic really did hold a lot of weight, and it still does. It is still important. Like, do not give up your
Mhm.
organic. But if you have that sales funnel, it can be really, really helpful to have, Facebook in your back pocket to promote your product and your service. And when you're ready, to get more
Mhm.
leads or to collect, more emails. And if you have influencers in the space that you follow, or you're a small business owner and there are, I don't know, let's say it's a chiropractor. There are probably chiropractors that you follow that are influencers that you look up to. And I guarantee you they are running some type of paid ads. I mean, in
Mhm.
our space, agencies are. I can think of a lot of big name people that I follow. Amy Porterfield, like her
Mhm.
coursework, she's giving Facebook a lot of money every single month because it's converting for her. And
Yep.
if it weren't converting, people would not be running these ads and we would only be talking about organic.
Yeah. I will
So
say, I do think paid ads have power. I will also say that my clients who have the most success also have an organic strategy. They work
you have to.
together,
You
and
have
one
to.
supports the other.
You have to, because if you're running a paid ad and you attract a client or a customer, that client or customer is going to be wanting to follow you on Instagram or on
Mhm.
Facebook. And they're going to be wanting your updates and seeing what you're doing. And, when an ad shuts off, it shuts off.
Yeah.
But what you have built up organically stays. And so you do need, these two things need to play nicely together, and they should if you want long-term success, especially if you want the customer that you've had click on that ad, buy from you, that you've converted, they've moved down your sales funnel, and now they're an ambassador. They love what you do. You want them on your Facebook and Instagram feed. You want them commenting, liking,
Mhm.
engaging, sharing, because they're your biggest cheerleader. If you have done it right, if you have done the paid and organic right, your marketing takes place through your ambassadors, through word of
Exactly.
mouth. So you need them both for sure. So, all right, everyone, I know that your head is spinning because this was a jam-packed episode. Actually, Karen and I, this is our third time trying to record this episode, three times a charm. But the good thing is you can listen and you can re-listen to this podcast. You can also visit KarenNelsonDigital.com for her freebies. And she has a class or workshops. You can message her. If you want to run a huge campaign, give her a call. She knows her stuff. The bottom line is, if you want to take your reach to the next level, it might be time to explore paid advertising with Meta. And hopefully, this episode will help get you started. Or if you're already running ads, it has given you a lot of food for thought on what you could be doing, or what changes are coming, or what you should be doing. So, thank you for listening and letting us go off on some tangents and talk about all sorts of other great things too, but learning alongside us. Until next week, make sure that you subscribe, that you comment. I love to hear your comments. So check out Small Biz Big Wins on Apple Podcasts, on Spotify, on YouTube. Visit the show notes for our free downloads to help you with your marketing. And if your target market is small business owners, let's chat about sponsoring Small Biz Big Wins. So it's all in the show notes, peeps. Thanks for tuning in.